Okay, tov, everyone. Parshat Bereishit. We are all aware that we were taught that Shivim Ponim La Torah, that the Torah is multifaceted. Now, I've mentioned to you often that the Gaon of Vilna said that there are no synonyms in Hebrew. In other words, every word is unique. There are no two words that are exactly the same. There are nuances between the words. So, for instance, Zman is time. Ace or eight is an era. They both mark the passage of time. But if I want to say something that is immediate or temporary, I want to know what time it is, I say Ma'azman. But like Shlomo HaMelech in Kehelah said, eight Lichiot, eight Lavut, there's a time that already is an era. That's not just a temporary time. So we come to the first word in the Torah, Bereishit. So we are heavily influenced by the King James Version of the Bible. Probably the most outstanding work of English literature. It was done over hundreds of years, over 400 scholars. It began under James, but it was completed much later. And almost all of the Jewish translations since have adopted the translation, the nuance, the idea that the King James Version saw in the word Bereishit. So therefore, if you ask people what does Bereishit mean, they will say in the beginning, because that's the translation that has been part of Western civilization for many centuries. But if you think about it, it makes no sense. In the beginning of what?
Right. The beginning of what's created.
And because of that, therefore, you will notice that Rashi does not translate Bereishit as in the beginning. And Russian. It's well, I would say the first few chapters of Rashi are based on the idea of Eina Mikra Yotzi Midei Pshuto. Rashi is not talking about Midrashim. Rashi is telling you the simple pshat. There's a famous discussion, I've mentioned it before, between the Rashbam, Rabbeinu Shmuel ben Meir, who is Rashi's grandson. So in the Rashbam's commentary, in his own commentary to the Chumash, in Parsha Shiur, so he writes that I had a conversation with my Zayda. The Rashbam was the oldest grandson. His younger brother was Rabbeinu Tam, but there was like 20 years between them. So the Rashbam was really the Rebbe of Rabbeinu Tam. And the Rashbam is the Talmud of Rashi. So he said, I spoke to Rashi. He's vakachti im skeni, he said. I had a discussion with my grandfather. I mean, the human touch. Vomarti lo, and I said to him, Zayda, You originally said, Ani lo bosi elo lipshuto shel mikra. I only came to explain to you simply what the posuk says. And you wrote a parish that's 70% medrash. It's not the simple pshat. It's Gemara's, it's Midrashim. So the Rashbam says, Vahodali. And my Zayda agreed with me. He said, you're right. And he said, if I will have time, I'm going to rewrite my parish. That it will be all pshat and not medrash at all. He never did it, not to our knowledge. And the Rashi that we have is the pillar of biblical understanding. Rashi is Ruach HaKodesh. I mean, no human being could have written what he wrote. Rashi did not have a computer. He didn't dictate anything. He had a quill. He had to make his own ink. So try writing a parish to the Talmud 3 times. The parish to Tanakh and to Chumash and hundreds of rabbinic responsa. Just it boggles the mind how any one person, I mean, even if you never had to think about it, just to do it. So Rashi does not say in the beginning, because Rashi is obviously troubled. The beginning means that what? So Rashi says that the word Bereishit begins with a beis, because Rashi is of the opinion that if it meant in the beginning, it would say Reishit without a beis. Reishit first. It doesn't say that. It says Bereishit. So what does the beis teach us? So the beis teaches us, Rashi says, the beis is like bishvil. The Torah is telling us the reason a world was created, the motivating force behind creation, the purpose for which it exists. So bishvil reishit. So now we have to look in the Torah, we have to look in Tanakh and see what and who is called Reishit. So Rashi says the Jewish people are called Reishit. Yisrael is Reishit. The Torah is called Reishit. Eretz Yisrael is Reishit. So the purpose of creation, Bereishit, for this purpose of Am Yisrael, of Torah Yisrael, this whole great universe was constructed. That's a laser focus on understanding Judaism. Because otherwise, I mean, what's the story with the Jewish people? Leave us alone with it already. There are Jews that feel this way. The rest of the world certainly feels this way. My Rebbe used to say, right? But you're making a whole deal. The whole world is crazy because of us. It's been crazy for 4,000 years. Why should that be? Why aren't they crazy about the Tutus in Uganda? Or the Native Americans? or other minorities in the world that are far more numerous than we are. And yet they almost don't register on the radar of history. And the Jewish people, for whatever reason, don't go off the radar. It's the biggest blip. So there's a purpose here. Well, it is created because that's why these people are here. That's why it exists. That's why the Jewish people are here. There's a purpose for the Jewish people. And that this purpose is of such prime importance that it's worthwhile to create a universe of such complexity and beauty and exactitude. Bishvil Yisrael Shenikroi Bereishit. So that says Bereishit Bora Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz. God created the heavens and the earth, the universe, whatever we know. Bereishit for those people. That there should be such a people that will gnaw at the conscience of the world forever. So well, we just finished Yom Tov, so my Rebbe used to say, the wonderful thing about prayer is that you don't pay any attention to what you say. Because if you did, it would cause contemplation without being overly narcissistic. I wrote this small book on Malchi, Zichronos, and Shofros. I have never had a response to all of my books, which were more numerous and bigger and nicer, etc., as I've had to this small book, because all of a sudden people had to think about what they were saying. So I, in my arrogance, now I'm writing another book on Neilah. Because again, if you realize what you say, it's so over the Yom Tov we say Akta Becharton and Mikalamim, we put it to a tune, becomes a song. Kidashto Sonu, Mamtonu, Mikol Halishonos. What? Why? What are you talking about? Such a nice people, the Jewish people. They stand in line courteously. They don't quarrel. You can trust them. So that's what Rashi means. Bishvil Bereishit. I have a purpose here. And the purpose is so great that it dwarfs everything else. And we are part of the purpose, whether we wish it to be or not. We would like to hide from ourselves. I spoke to somebody who told me the greatest thing about being in Eretz Yisrael is there's only one day Yom Tov. I think that he missed the boat. If that's the greatest thing about Eretz Yisrael, then you can go to the conservative temple in New Jersey. They also only have one day Yom Tov. And they do. And their grandchildren will have no days Yom Tov. That's what happens. So we have here this glorious piece of Rashi, Bishvil Yisrael. And then Rashi says, Bishvil Torah, Shenikra Reishis. The Torah is called Reishis. The Rebbeinu Shalom would, I have a friend of mine in America. So when I was there 4 months ago or 5 months ago, so he took me for a ride in his new car. So he's got an electric car that does everything. It says Psukei Zimra for you, everything. You don't have to do anything. Parks, drives, jumps, that's fine, wonderful. So I said to him, it's a really remarkable car. It's the technology and everything. He says, it's not the same though. But he said, I want you to know that when they gave me the car, they sent the guy to my house, and for 2.5 days, he reviewed the manual, the book of instructions that comes with the car. It's like this. He says, because if you pay $120,000, $130,000 for a car, you got to know how to run the thing. You got all these gadgets, but you don't know what they are. So that's the Torah. Rebbeinu Shalom gave us a world, unbelievable, but you don't know how to operate in it. You don't know the manual. You know what button to press. You know whether you're going forwards or backwards. Torah Tzivalanu Moshe. Moshe came to us with the manual. He spent time, so we'll know how to drive the car. We'll know what he wants from us. So in the manual, there's Zaka, and there's Bikur Cholim, there are mitzvahs, and the methodology of dealing with tragedy. It's all in the manual. So that's what Rashi says, Bishvil Reishis, Torah Nikra Reishis. The Moshe would not have put us in such a world, in such a society, would have not have sold us such a car without teaching us how to operate it. How's it supposed to work? How are we supposed to achieve, so to speak, a nobility of spirit in a world that drags us down so much? So that Rashi says that's the pshat Bereishit, Bishvil Reishis. Because of Reishis, I created Shamayim Haaretz, and that's what the Gemara means when it says Histakel Boraiso Boro Lomo. The Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachal looked at the Torah as though the Torah pre-existed the world, and he built the world according to the standards of the Torah. The Torah is the blueprint for so much of the time when civilization goes off the rails, as happens so many times in human history, and we're in the midst of one of those eras now, is because we lost the manual. So we're pressing all the buttons. And it doesn't always work. It doesn't always achieve what it should. And that therefore, Bereishis means Torah. Another Medrash that says that Bereishit means Eretz Yisrael. There's another one that says it means Shabbos. These are all the motivations for the creation of the universe. So we have here two distinct views on the word Bereishit, right? The generally accepted view of Bereishit means in the beginning somehow. And there we have the problem of how do we define the beginning of what? So there's a great question that the Greek philosophers raised. I remember when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I had a Rebbe, and he explained to us Greek philosophy, not commonly done today. And he said there was a great discussion between the Greek philosophers, and Chazal always record that the Greek philosophers and the Jewish philosophers debated. The Chachamim debated them. In the Gemara, it's called Chachmei Atuna, the wise men of Athens. The Gemara says that Shlomo Melech dealt with them. I don't know whether he ever met Socrates or not, but the Greeks had they were trying to figure out the world. So they had a debate whether time is a creation or whether time, so to speak, always existed. So the Greeks held a very sophisticated idea that there was a God. The Greek philosophers were not pagans. The society was pagan, and they played along, but they didn't believe in any of that. So they believed that Aristotle called it the prime mover or something, someone, didn't all just happen. But they believed that it happened within time, and that time, so to speak, was eternal. So if time was eternal, the question was, could there ever be a beginning? If God, so to speak, has to operate within time, and will time ever end? And the Jewish philosophers always said that time was a creation. Time is a creation. Just as the Rebbeinu Shalom created the planets and the stars, so he created the concept of time. In our modern world, a Jew by the name of Albert Einstein proved mathematically that time is a creation. It's not an absolute. Time bends according to all sorts of physical factors that exist. And that was his general theory of relativity, etc. So, therefore, if time is a creation, then it's hard to say it's in the beginning. And that's what drives Rashi to give us his definitions of Bereishit. There is a third track here that is followed by many of the Meforshim who gave Rashi his due, but tweaked it. And they said Bereishit means with Reishit, not because of Reishit, but with Reishit. Then Bor Elokim Shemayim v'Haaretz. And that's what Chazal meant that when we say in Kiddush, Shabbos, Asher Bora Elohim La'asos, the Rebbeinu Shem created La'asos, room for us to do something. He didn't put us in, he put us in a perfect world, but the perfect world can always be improved upon, can be made better. There's always more that can be achieved. And therefore, with this concept that I'm giving you a perfect world, but the world is la'asos, you have to do your part, you have to make it better, you have to improve it. That's how good, with that concept was the world created. In other words, the world was created, so to speak, open-ended. It wasn't, oh, this is it, and that's all it's going to be. And we see that in all of civilization, the advances in technology and medicine and society and whatever, economics. That's all la'asos. Make it better. Good, I'm giving you the raw materials. I'm giving you a brain. I'm giving you ability. You can rule over everything. But you have to do your part. There's a purpose here, that's why. So the world was created with Reishis, with the idea that human beings will do their part. And that's certainly true of the Jewish people. Or Lagoyim Nesatich. You're going to be the light unto the nations. You're going to push the envelope forward in every field. And that's what I give. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, Avram Avinu v'divruchu b'chol kol goyei haaretz. Everybody we bless it from you. Billions of people in the world that associate themselves with Avram Avinu. Remarkable that the peace treaties, we call them the Abraham Accords. Abraham is, he never got a Nobel Prize. 3,700 years ago, the Abraham Accords. So we have here these three different views of one word, the first word in the Chumash. So when we're children and we're first introduced, so many Jewish communities, they never began teaching children with the Chumash Bereishis because you will always remain with your childish view of Chumash Bereishis. We think of Chumash Bereishis as the little medrash. The book, the kids come to shul with the book. So they think Avram Avinu had a big white beard. How do you know? Judaism purposely avoided doing those things. Because of the fact that we want to advance civilization. So you're going to improve it. You're going to make it better. You're going to do what you're supposed to do. So the first word in the Torah is itself the greatest challenge that the Torah creates for us. How am I Bereishit? Purpose with the Torah, understanding, and I think that sets the tone. So they used to teach the children from Vayikra and Bamidbar and Dvarim, and later when they got older, then they would learn Bereishit, so at least they would have a more mature view of the matter. I remember from my own personal life, I knew the Chumash when I was 10, 11 years old because of my father, but I really never began to understand the Chumash until I went through the yeshiva and I heard what my Rebbeim had to say every Friday. Opened it differently. And that's the task. Yeah, that's the task of being able to see the eternity in the Chumash and to have it applied to our own everyday lives. So I want to thank you all for coming. And next week, even if it rains, we're going to learn Parshas Noach. Shabbat Shalom.
Amalek is also worship. Amalek.